In other news, we're tracking for you this afternoon. Non-profit organizations in Gauteng are still facing funding challenges. Some look after elderly citizens, people with disabilities, and others offer home-based care services. Now, their monthly grants were halted by the provincial government to clean out corrupt activities within the sector. Newzroom Afrika's Ziniko Mhlaba is tracking the story, and he joins us live this afternoon. Ziniko, great to see you. An incredibly troubling story, and it's affecting, obviously, the institutions that are trying to care for the most vulnerable among us.
That's right, Michelle. And actually, what is even more unfortunate is that there was less communication in terms of informing the organizations on the ground about these particular problems. So, they had no contingency plans, prepared for this particular season where they will not be getting any form of support from government. So they are now scrambling, and some have had to, let go of their key professionals within the NPO sector, especially those that are working directly with the people on the ground. Understand that this is the sector that deals with the most vulnerable citizens in the country. We're talking about children, as you said in your intro, elderly, and those that are living with disabilities. But, one of those organizations now, it's called Tutela. It's one of the oldest organizations that has branches across the province to some extent in Mpumalanga as well. Over the past 40 years, the past 20 years, they have been, having a large amount of their daily operations coming from the Department of Social Development. But for this coming financial year, that is not the case anymore. But let me bring them in so that they give us their own direct accounts, especially when it comes to the impact of this particular program. I'm joined now by the director of Tutela, Mr. Rizki. Thank you very much for your time. Talk to us about how this crisis is affecting you as an organization, and to an extent, how is it affecting the work that you do?
Ziniko, we have 8 family care officers in Gauteng rendering child protection services and family preservation services, 1 child and youth care center, and 7 elderly care facilities. And out of those 17 business plans, with our head office 1 included, we've only received 3. 1 for our Germiston office, 1 for the CYCC, and 1 elderly care facility. The rest of us has not heard whether we will get funding or if not. And the seriousness of the situation, that 2 of our offices has already closed down, our Alberton and Boksburg office. Our Springs and Brakpan office is going to follow suit in due time at the end of June, if not subsidy received. And that brings that our beneficiaries that we're rendering services to are without services. Currently, our Boksburg office has got more than 300 case files where children are protected, and 35 of those case files are still in court, where we're fighting for the protection of the children. We have no social worker in service because we have no funding, and those cases are pending in court. And we're really struggling. We want to render the service and we want to continue. But if you don't have the funds, then you can't appoint a social worker.
Talk to us more about the cases you are talking about that are not being attended to right now. What kind of cases are we talking about? Obviously, they have to do with assisting children, but what are we looking at? What kind of problems are those children faced with, which you have taken up so that they end up in court?
In most of our cases, it's where children are severely neglected and abused, sexually abused, physically abused. That's the main reason why we will open children's court proceedings and place children in alternative care. So most of those cases that our officers are dealing with are children in need of care and protection, the most vulnerable, neglected, abused children. And these cases we can't attend to now if there's no social workers employed anymore.
Let's talk about the operational cost and how you not receiving, the funds is going to affect your operations in terms of staff payments, in terms of running and visiting all these people who need to visit at homes. What is the picture like right now?
So currently we are receiving all our post subsidies from the Department of Social Development, for which we are so grateful. Up to this year we have no news if we will receive or not, but that means our funding per post is not available currently, so we can't employ the social workers. And unfortunately, we have come over the last 40 years dependent on those subsidies. And it amounts to more than 60-70% of our income is the subsidy that we do receive. And we were not prepared to secure alternative funding. Although we should raise funds as an NPO, some of our offices has 2 social workers with caseloads of 150, 200 files per social worker, which makes it impossible for social workers to fundraise. And they are 100% dealing with children and children protection matters. So there is no time to fundraise. And to secure alternative funding, it takes 2-3 years of building relationships with businesses and alternative funders. And we didn't have time for that.
Okay. Let's bring in the aspect now of some people losing work, Michelle, due to the unfunding. I've got one of the social workers who's likely going to be affected by this. Ms. Shabana, I'm going to bring her in right now. Says, thank you very much for your time. I know it's a very sensitive subject, but we thank you for allowing us into your space. Talk to us about how is this going to affect you personally when it comes to your finances?
Thank you for your time. It's going to affect me at the end of the day because I'll be unemployed and I won't be able to assist my family back in Limpopo there. And then that is the thing. And I have a passion of working with people. So it's going to break my heart seeing that I'm leaving people unattended, especially my learners in schools and people in formal settlement that we are assisting. For example, in most of the people in formal settlement, we find that they don't have information. But we go out there, we assist them to enroll their kids in schools. We assist them with applying for a child grant at the end of the day. And now that we are no longer going to be able to render the services, it's like we are taking away their dreams. Those people, the vulnerable people, we are talking about people living with disabilities. We are talking about gender-based violence. Those are the kind of issues and things that we are assisting people in our communities with. And everyone, and our elders as well. We are not going to be able to attend to them and to render the services to them.
Abel, talk to us through your ordinary day from the morning until the afternoon. I just want to gauge, the amount of work that you do within the limited money that you've been getting. How does your normal day look like?
Monday, I'm here at the office, and then Tuesday, I'm at schools. I attended all cases in schools, psychosocial support and giving support to the learners. And we also attend parents' meetings, and we work together with the educators. And then Wednesday, we attend to the informal settlement as well. And then Thursdays, it's all about gathering all the cases that are coming through the offices. And at the same time, we also give out food parcel to the people who are unable to feed themselves. So we are trying by all means to assist them, especially when it comes to poverty and unemployment. There are people in informal settlement that we're doing skills development with them. So now, because we are unable to render the services, we are not going to be able to assist them as well.
Do you think in your absence, communities and schools are able to do the type of education that you offer them, especially when it comes to parents, because they're dealing with issues that have to do with sexual abuse, a physical abuse? How much information or awareness do you think parents have about these particular cases and how they should be handled?
They have information, but it's not enough because they rely on us. At the end of the day, they're going to stuck, and they know that Tutela door is always open, and we always go to them to render the services. So it's gonna be something very difficult for them to be able to go further. And some of them, they're going to stuck, not knowing where to go, because Tutela, it won't be there anymore. As social workers, we won't be there to render the services.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabana. I'm going to bring in Ms. Reg again. She's not the only one. Yeah. How many staff members do you have to let go currently? Yeah. And what cost do you usually, direct towards the payments of the staff?
Yeah. So currently, our subsidy that we receive per post is 14,500 per month. And all of our social workers are funded through those subsidy. At our Alberton office, for social workers, we couldn't renew their contracts, and their contracts ended at April. In Boksburg, 2 social workers and an auxiliary worker, their offices ended also in April, and we couldn't renew. So currently they are unemployed. At our head office ourselves, we had 4 resignations, but if those people were still employed, we were starting our own legal retrenchment process in this month. And Esther here is a person that's been 14 years with us, and she received her notice that we can no longer employ her due to the lack of funding. And for us it's sad, because if you're almost at retirement age, it's not easy to get employment. We're sitting with an old age home who is so dependent on subsidy, where they've got 300 older people living there. Where will we go with those older people? We have written emails requesting feedback, requesting the department to help us to assist in certain cases, especially with our books that are open court cases. And we have no resolve. We have no person to hand over cases. Our beneficiaries are struggling. Our personnel are struggling. It's difficult to tell personnel that they won't have a salary the next month.
Talk to us about the cases of these kids you're talking about. In the absence of funding, obviously you won't be able to continue handling their cases. Is there a plan where these children will be taken to, or a way that their cases, will be resolved through from in the absence of your assistance as there as Dudela?
In our minds, the statutory cases there where children are protected with a court order, we should be handing them over to the Department of Social Development. We have no contact person where to hand it over. Us at Dudela are making plans to continue with prevention and early intervention services, and we are making plans to get funding for that, to continue with that. But with the case files, we'll have to hand over.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Axel, and also Ms. Tabela there for your time. A very saddening tale of events and the impact of this issue of NPOs not having the necessary money they are used to in terms of running the operations. But very, very worrying is the issue of the impact on the actual beneficiaries themselves. They mentioned that there are about 30 cases that are on hold right now because this NGO cannot pay social workers who must be handling those matters, especially when it comes to the legal processes. So that's the latest from us, Michelle.